Lights, camera, action. Let's start the show. Here's a little bit of wedding advice from me to help your love story unfold. Good morning, lovebirds. Welcome back to your wedding series. We are in season 3, episode 2. And today when we're talking about planning your wedding, as you know, we started at 14-year-old you, starting with some financial success, and we've now fast forwarded into the age in which you are engaged. That's a different age for everybody. So of course, most people are not going to be 14 years old, but I did give you some helpful advice on how to date for marriage the right way. In today's episode, the topic is going to be very focused on exploring and researching vendors. Does this vendor align with my style and my aesthetic? This is a great question. I think a lot of people are missing out on this important question to ask themselves when they are looking for a vendor. I know that we get very excited about, we now have booked our venue and they might have some options for you. They may have like 3 vendors of each type of vendor that you might need on their list. And you really are going to have to take your time in trying to vet these people. I say this because if a venue already has scouted out your vendors for you and they've done the work, for many people, they don't realize that this can actually be a trap. And it may not be the right vendors that are aligning with your style and your aesthetic. So I want you to take your time when it comes to the vendors at the venues, okay, at these wedding venues. If you are getting a blank slate for your venue, I feel like this is going to definitely help you out the most. And a blank slate venue is those that don't come with any vendors at all. You have to hire your own vendors. You need to bring in your own vendors to make your wedding pop and to make your vision come to life. They're probably just going to give you a blank canvas room of walls, probably some windows if you are very lucky, but you will have some tables and chairs. Everything else you may have to bring in on your own. Some people really like these style of venues because then they get to pick and choose what venues that they want, vendors that they want, and what vendors that they don't want. And so there are pros and cons to both sides, but that's going to be up to you to figure out which style is going to be best for you, which style of picking out a vendor is going to be best for you. Now, in season 2, episode 16, we had a very large Q&A that went over questions and answers that you're looking for when you were looking for a venue. We talk about all different styles of venues for you to look at and questions to ask them along the way. Okay, so I hope that if you still are questioning venues at this point, that you take a listen or look at that episode because it was really jam-packed with a lot of good stuff in it. And so I know that it's very helpful for you. But today we're talking about our vendors. Do they align with my style? Do they fit my aesthetic? Are they going to fit well into the vision that I have created for my wedding day? So step 1, decide who are your key vendors. Which vendors to you are most important? Okay, your key vendors. For most people, it's going to be the photographer, the videographer, the wedding content creator, whoever is going to be going to do their hairstyling, their makeup, so their makeup artist, as well as their nails. Most people are going to put this as their most important things of that day. And the reason why is because they want to capture the memories. They want to make sure that the moment is captured. Now, I have met a wedding couple that did not want a photographer, videographer, content creator, nor hair, makeup, or fancy nails done at their wedding. I have met a couple like this, and people like this do exist. They do still want a ceremony and a reception, but it's very, very low key. And that is fine too. So don't think that just because I'm mentioning what most people think is important, that you have to put these vendors on your list for the most important. Okay. The next thing that you want to consider is after your key vendors is your save for later vendors. Save for later. These are going to probably be for most people the florist, the decorator, the DJ or band or some form of entertainment, the caterer. These type of vendors, most people are like, you know what, I don't need to book them like right away, but I am going to consider them obviously for saving later on after I get my key vendors checked off and booked and make sure that majority of my wedding budget is going towards them, right? So, and that's okay. Like I said, this is your wedding and you're deciding what's important to you. So you don't have to look at someone else's main key vendors and be like, oh yeah, like that's what we should do, da 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 da. No, look at your personality, look at the style and aesthetic that you've created on that mood board. Remember, we did talk about the mood board in very, very detailed explanation here. That is back in season 2. And so you can go ahead and take a look at that vision board, take a look at your task board and say, okay, do these vendors fit what I've created for my vision? And your vision could change along the way, right? It could definitely change. If, I know mine did. I know that my vision did change from what I originally wanted for a really long time, for like many, many years. And then I switched it up. And I tried to incorporate the both of them and it ended up not working. I had to choose just one style, one aesthetic, and just run with that, right? Because they just were clashing way too much. They weren't going to go together. So this is your time to figure it all out. The wedding day hasn't happened yet. Obviously, you can change your mind up until like the day of the wedding if you wanted to, if you're able to, make it happen. If you're able to make it happen. So you want to take your time. You want to take your time in all of this, okay, when you're looking for the vendors. People, like I said, get so excited about the venue and then they just go ham. They're like, oh my gosh, we got to pick all the vendors right now. And that's not the truth. You need to take your time. You need to really, really, really make sure that these are the people that are going to fit with your personality, style, and aesthetic on the day of your wedding. That was step 1. Deciding who are the key, most important vendors and the save for later vendors. You also want to look at making a list of every vendor and put them into 3 columns. So you want to take out your wedding notebook. Remember, we created our wedding notebook early on in season 2 to keep us organized. On your wedding notebook, whether it's digital or if you have paper and pen out, you're going to create 3 columns. At the top, you're going to put wedding vendors. In the first column, you're going to put most important vendors. In the second column, you're going to put save for later. And in the third column, you're going to put not necessary. So you're going to look for a main vendor list online, okay? You're going to put all the vendors that people talk about that you see online, just literally you're picking the brains of everybody just to see, okay, what do people do? Some people like to use different forms of entertainment than others. Not everybody likes a DJ. Some people like a band. Some people don't even want a band. Some people just want to play music from their cell phone through an auxiliary cord and a speaker. This is going to be your time to really research all wedding vendors, okay? All. When I say all, I mean all wedding vendors. This is going to be your time to research them, okay? And we are going to go over again what a videographer and a content creator do at weddings and how they differ and what's the best thing for you. Okay, so we are looking at step 1. We're still in step 1, and this is deciding. Now that you have your columns made and you've looked at some vendors, you've really picked the brain of everybody when it comes to these vendors, right? And you've started creating these columns. What's important? What I can say for later? What is just not necessary as a vendor? Maybe you went to someone's wedding and they had like an ice cream vendor caterer. And you're like, no, that's just not necessary. We're definitely not doing that. I mean, you don't have to write it down, but there could be other things that everyone does. Maybe every wedding that you went to had a centerpiece on every single table. And you're like, no, that's just not necessary. Or maybe they had tall centerpieces and you couldn't see the person from across the room to you. And you're like, we're definitely going to have short centerpieces. I need to put this down. So we need to find a decorator that has like these kind of centerpieces. Be very specific with this list. Step 2. Now you're going to start the research. And the research is going to be pretty in-depth as well. You're going to look at online wedding websites for people that you've thought about, for vendors that you've, figure out, okay, this is who I think we're going to go through. This is who I think we're going to use. Google is going to be able to help you with this, especially with Google Maps, because then you can also see if there are any vendors that have put their information in their business on Google Maps. And then guess what? People were able to make real reviews on Google. We talked about that with the venue. Remember how amazing it is that, you can look at people's reviews on there rather than on personal websites that people can put just anything on. Okay, they can screenshot anything and create anything through that. But on Google, it's a little bit trickier. I mean, people can still pay for reviews, but you're just going to have to use some discernment to see, okay, is this person telling the truth or not, or they're just a paid actor to do this. The other way that you're going to research is by asking people. Ask your friends, your family, your coworkers, the same thing that we did with the venue. Ask people, hey, what kind of cake vendor did you go through? What kind of caterer did you use for your food? Did you really like them? Why did you like them? Tell me some examples of what went really well for you with them and what did not go so great that you think, okay, maybe I shouldn't go with this person. So ask them this. Maybe they have some ideas for you and you can, really consider them as a part of your list, okay? Especially when we start creating that list of putting down business names into those columns, right? Because right now we just have what they do, and then later on we're going to add in who they are, right? Okay, so you're doing your research and you're going to turn over to your next page because now you are going to start writing who these vendors are. Who are they? Which florist did you like that stood out? Which decorator did you like that stood out in your research? Which hair and makeup person did you like that stood out? Just go down the list and see like, okay, well, this person seems really great. Like we don't know much about them yet because people aren't putting pricing on their websites anymore. So like we still have more to do. This is just the beginning. Okay. I want us to go step by step, you guys. You need to go slower. Take your time. Take your time when it comes to this. Okay. Stop rushing one of the most important times in your life, especially picking out the venue and the vendors for your wedding. This is important stuff. Okay. So if there are any vendors that you've already researched or you've heard really great things about, go ahead and jot them down. Go ahead and put them down on that second piece of notebook paper, or if you're, doing this digitally, that's fine. Go ahead and turn to the next page and make sure you start writing down vendors that we are considering. Okay. And remember, we're still keeping that thing in mind. Okay, are they fitting with our style, our aesthetic, and our personality, right? You can tell by people's websites. You can tell by people's websites. You can tell by their Google reviews. I know that a lot of people have really, really struggled in this area when it comes to vendors, but this is why I want us to take our time with this and, ask people. A lot of times people have worked with some really, really great people. People do a really great job when it comes to weddings because they want their business to stand out. So say like if you saw your friend's haircut, gentleman, for the groom and the groomsman, and you really liked his haircut, and he's like, oh yeah, like, that's my friend so and so, I go to him for all of my special events. He's a little pricey, but he's somebody that I use for every time I'm in a wedding, or and he's the one that did my hair for my wedding. He cut my hair, he shaved my face, gave me a clean shave, whatever it might be. This is really, really good research right here that you could say, okay, let me give him a try. Maybe I'll go in for like a regular haircut and just see how he does with my hair, gentlemen. And then it's like, oh yeah, he is really great. You know what? I'm going to book him. And then I'm going to give you guys some advice on how to book your hair, makeup, and nails person for your wedding. I'm going to be giving that advice in a later episode. Right now, we are at the segment called Be My Guest. Yes, we are. Be My Guest. I would love for you to be on Your Wedding Series podcast. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode thus far, but I would like to have you on the podcast. I'd like to have you on the show. What do you think about picking out vendors? Have you started picking out your vendors and it's going really well? Or have you started picking out your vendors and you're like, this is a nightmare. I'm having trouble. This is so hard. I need to talk about this with somebody. Guess what, guys? We all want to hear it. We all want to hear it. All the people who love weddings or planning weddings. There's two type of wedding people out there. People who just love weddings for the sake of loving love. And then there are people who are planning their wedding. So just know that this is a chance for you to get to share about how your wedding series is going. How is your engagement era going when it comes to picking out your vendor and picking out your wedding venue? I want to hear from you guys specifically, so make sure that you send me an email and tell us, you're going to start the conversation with me. So first we're just going to chat, and then you're going to get to tell all of us all of the tea when I interview you, okay? How it's been, how it's going, the ups and the downs of this whole wedding vendor shopping thing is going for you and your fiance, and maybe even your family members are in on it as well. So I want to hear from everybody who's involved. First, you'll send me an email at yourcontentcreator@yahoo.com. And then I'm going to interview you on a video call. So we're going to have a little video chat. I'm going to record it. And then I'm going to put it on the platform, on Your Wedding Series, okay, podcast right here. So everyone will get to see us having a little chat, and they'll also get some great information, some great tips, some great guidance on this whole wedding planning, especially when it comes to the wedding vendors and the wedding venues. And guess what, lovebirds? You know what I'm about to say. This is the end of our episode. I will see you in the next one, lovebirds.
Lights, camera, action, baby, strike a pose. Phones and cameras out, just watch it all unfold. We're the stars of the show, ain't no need for filters. Living life through the lens, capturing my breath. Put away your phones and cameras, let the good times roll. Our content creators got it all under control. From weddings to events, parties, travel, and brands, we're living the paparazzi life. It's all in our hands. social media.